What's Toledo's most hidden, our best kept secret? I think there are a couple of things. I think number one, one of the best kept secrets is its history, to be honest with you. I mean, I think many people don't really understand, many people who live here especially, don't really understand what this city used to be, what an important key center of commerce, what a key center of entertainment, this whole area was really a central focus point for, you can think, for the labor movements of the 1930s that happened here. Commerce, I mean, the glass capital of the world, we sort of sometimes, oh, okay, fine. But that's a big deal. It was a very big deal. And the fact that we were also the oil center of the world for a number of years. Oil and natural gas were very plentiful here, and long before Texas, anyone ever sunk a well in Texas. Northwest Ohio was the center for oil, and it's one of the reasons why so many of our businesses and our industry settled here, was because that's why the glass industry was here, because of the natural gas. At the time, Libby thought he was going to get natural gas for free for the rest of, so if he brought the glass company here from the east, because it was so plentiful. And so that's one of the reasons why we have the glass industry here. And then again, same thing with the car industry. We had the proximity to Detroit. We had this great transportation hub with the rail. We were a huge rail center at one time. So I think those are the things that when I hear people put down Toledo, and yeah, it's certainly not maybe we aren't living in the glory days that we had at one time, but I think that's one of the hidden things. When people find out, oh geez, I didn't know that about Toledo. And that was the fun thing about doing the book and talking about the book sometimes. And I'll get feedback from people now who say, I never realized how important Toledo was. What a cool city it really was one time. And my answer is always yes, and we could be that cool city again. That center of commerce, that center, that hub. It's certainly not out of the question, because we still have all of the basic resources here. We have a great location, for one thing, and I think sometimes we have this great inferiority complex, like Toledo never was anything and never will be anything, and I hate hearing that from people, because it really was. And I'm always fascinated by the stories of all the entertainers that used to love to come to Toledo. Big names. The big names came to Toledo. This was a great entertainment venue. There were so many major stars that they all came through. I mean, think about it. If you were going to New York to Chicago back in the 1920s or 30s or even the early 1900s, how did you come? You came through Toledo. The train came through Toledo, and very often stopped in Toledo, and the big stars or whomever, everybody got off in Toledo. Everybody knew Toledo. Toledo was one of the major stops between here in New York or here in, if you were going coast to coast. And so Mae West was somebody who always loved to stop in Toledo and see her friends. She had lots of friends here. And there were lots of stars that did, and major names. So this was a town that nobody was ever ashamed of, 50 years ago or 40 years ago. This was a very, very cool place to be and to live. And we've had some very interesting people, as a part of this town. There was a guy by the name of Frank Burt, who was, the fact that they've redone the building, the old Burt Theater, which was the old Caesar's Palace and all of that over on the corner. Of, what is it? Is that Erie, Superior, Jefferson? Anyway, that was the old Burt Theater. That was one of the first vaudeville palaces by Frank Burt. I've since found out, I just got a phone call in the last 6 months from a guy from California who's doing research on Frank Burt, because Frank Burt, then after he left Toledo, I mean, he had movie palaces all over the country, but then he went into the amusement park business. He's the guy who built some of the first amusement parks in California, the Knott's Berry Farm, and those first forerunners. That was his thing. He was totally a showman. He lived in Toledo. He was from Toledo. He loved Toledo. This is where he was from. In fact, he almost died because his wife shot him in front of the Burt Theater over here on Jefferson one night in a jealous rage. Serious. He almost died. It was, you know, and he didn't. He managed to survive and live many more years. But yeah, he ran, what was the other thing he did? He ran the Pan American Exposition in San Francisco in the early 1900s, I believe it was. So, you know, we had lots of interesting characters that used to populate this town.